everybody, and welcome back to Rise of the Podcast. I'm Jeremy.
I'm Kara.
I'm Brownie.
And this is our first 19th episode. No, today's theme is like first. So we'll get into that. But guys, 19 podcast episodes. What do you think?
It's amazing. I was actually thinking about that, and I saw a patient the other day, and I realized, I looked at the last time I saw him, I was like, we were already about 4 podcasts in by the time I saw that patient, and now I'm seeing him again.
We've
Wow.
been doing this too long.
You should have
Kinda
talked
crazy.
about podcast number 4 last time, and then you can talk about podcast number 19 this time.
Seriously, what did we talk about podcast 4?
I have no idea. We were in stage 1
You guys
still.
let us know what we talked about in podcast 4.
Yeah.
Wait, you just uploaded everything to iTunes, so
And I've been going back and listening to them too.
what was 4?
I don't remember.
Podcast 6 was our first one out here, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, we've already been in here 13 podcasts then?
Yep.
That's 3 months in a week.
Dang.
Anyways, I'm super excited. Sorry, I'm super excited to move to the next because we had all these funny 2 minutes of pre-roll like we normally do. And so we're burning through all these really funny stories. So the theme for this week is like first. So Chris, you had mentioned your first job. What was your first job, Chris?
My first job was a lot of people's first jobs. I worked at a McDonald's.
Oh, I remember you working at McDonald's.
And so, I mean,
I do
like,
not.
I guess it really
How
does
old were you?
I was 15. It really depends on how you break down first job. Like, I mowed lawns for cash, but
Right.
Okay,
my first W-4 job.
Yeah.
There you go.
there we go.
Yeah, there you go.
First W-4 job was at a McDonald's, and I was 15 years old. Minimum wage was $5.15 an hour.
Oh yeah.
And I loved working there. Actually, it was to the point where I thought I was going to work there my whole life. This is the story that I
my
always tell when I
gosh.
talk about working for McDonald's. Like, I love the people that I worked with. I was really good at my job. The first day that I worked, I was getting trained in on the grill, and it's not complicated if you're paying attention. They make
Right.
it pretty much idiot proof, because if you have a bunch of 14, 15, 16-year-olds running around, you want to make it as simple as possible.
Right.
So I picked it up right away, and then my trainer's like, well, do you want to learn how to do, like, the assembly line? I'm like, sure, and I picked that up. It's like, it's not that hard. There's, like, 8 different ingredients, so it's hard to mess that up. It tells you what goes on each sandwich. So basically within an hour of me starting working there, my trainer was like, well, I'm out of things to teach you for today, so I'm going to go home.
You just winged it from there?
Yeah, so I just ran the grill and then jumped on the assembly line when needed for the thing. And I actually ended up picking up a closing shift that day. So I learned how to do all the closing stuff the first
my
day,
gosh.
too. So it was just like all this stuff. Anyway, so that's a long version of a short story. But I really liked working there. I was good at it. So then I got promoted pretty early to being a crew trainer. So there's crew members, crew trainers. Then there's like shift managers. Then it goes up from there. And I thought it was like, man. And they have like really cool programs for working with you. If you're going to college, you can work at a McDonald's and they'll help with tuition or cover tuition depending on what you want to do, and try and place you in the company or a store or something when you graduate. Like, they have all these great opportunities for people. But the whole experience got soured for me when minimum wage jumped all the way up to $6.15 an hour. And I think at the time I was making like $6.10 an hour, and they weren't going to give me any of the differential, basically.
They negated your raises.
Yeah.
So if you'd worked yourself up to $5.75, when it went to $6.15, you just started over at $6.15.
Yeah. Well, some of us, that was the case. A lot of people got whatever their difference was. They just got an extra buck an hour.
What? But they didn't do that for you?
They didn't do that for me, and I was in the manager training program thing. So I was still a trainer, but then I was trained to be a manager. So I was starting to run shifts and stuff. And they wanted me to make the same amount as the people that were just coming in off the street and starting to work
I'd be
there.
like, no, you will give me a raise or I'm gone. Bye.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. And they're like, it's not happening. I was like, okay, see ya. And I just walked out. And that was my
that's
last day
right.
working there.
That's right.
But but it was a great job, and I think I learned a lot of like life skill things. Like, I was not a very outgoing person. I'm still not particularly outgoing.
You just
But you learn
put
how
your
to-
voice out there on the internet for everybody to listen to.
Well, this is easy.
Exactly.
But I learned how to be a part of a group and how to work together and like what like leadership means and all these core fundamental work skills I gained there, and I thought it's a great place to initially start working. Just don't get screwed over.
Right.
How long did you work there?
I worked there for a year and a half.
Oh.
So
I had a job that was close to what you did. I
Yeah.
worked at the gas station for 8 years. So.
Oh,
You-
man.
Close.
Well, that's a different. set of stories,
That's a
though.
lot of different stories.
So,
But
Jeremy, what was your first?
I worked at Perkins, was my very first W-4 collecting job. And so if you don't know, Perkins is, I guess, similar to like a Denny's or, well, Country
Isn't
Kitchen if
Perkins
you have them.
nationwide?
I don't think so.
It
Maybe
might be.
Midwest.
It's definitely Midwest, if not
But I know
nationwide.
they
but-
just went bankrupt, didn't they?
They did, actually.
I was going to say
But-
all Perkins and down
Yeah,
there.
so they used to be a 24-hour style diner,
Yes.
but then
Jumped down to just
15 years
midnight.
ago, yeah,
and-
they've started reducing hours. But
So
That
I was
big old bar.
I was a dishwasher at Perkins, and that was a really good experience because that was what it was like to work. Now the fun thing about being a dishwasher and being I was same age as you, 15, is you can only work for like 4 to 6 hour shifts like a couple times a week.
yeah,
So it's
and
like
you can't work past certain hours
Right.
either. Like you can't work past 10 o'clock at night.
Yep. And so it was the same thing, $5.15 an hour. Depending on the waitress, they might give you a couple tips depending on what they collected. It wasn't mandatory, but they might cut that in. But I mean, I would bust tables. I would, do the dishes, clean up any spills and stuff like that. And so one of the toughest experiences I had is you had a food garbage disposal that disposed or garbaged into a garbage can. So you'd take the plate off the line, like you'd have where the trays would come in. You'd dump all the food down the garbage disposal, hit a button, it would grind it up into a goop. That would then dump into, yeah, it would dump into a garbage. Then you put the plate in the Hobart, the dishwasher, the Hobart, the corner. Awesome. That thing was sweet. Except plates came out of that at like 200 degrees.
Wait,
you
is
know,
it one of
whatever.
those things? It's like a plastic, like you
Yep.
lay the plates in there, shove it in, shut the lid.
Yep. And then like in like 90 seconds,
Yeah.
they're clean and sanitized.
Dang.
That thing, I mean, it's like you'd open it up and it was
Okay.
just like a
They
steam would
need
come
that
out.
in the dental world because right now it takes like 20 minutes for anything to sterilize.
Yeah, this is your,
Just open somebody's mouth up. Clean now. Next.
Kara does that to people who eat Oreos before they come to their appointments.
That's
Praise
an
God.
old. That's an old Tim Allen bit.
Is it really?
Yeah, he's like, why do we always brush our teeth before we go to the dentist? It's like, I'm just gonna do nothing but eat Cheetos and Oreos. It's like, fix that, you expletive. It's a good bit.
That would kill me.
So yeah, so this was my worst night at Perkins was I always changed the garbage when it got half full. No
'Cause it was heavy?
more food than that because it was so heavy, just
Yep.
pure sloppy wet food.
Food waste is
It's just-
always just the grossest,
It
most
is.
awful
I feel that would
thing.
It is.
stink too.
It-
like
it- it-
you
It was
know,
fresh enough that
little
it,
pancakes, some chicken, some peas,
I didn't-
just
Don't forget
pancakes
the
always
pie.
pancake
pie.
always smells good.
mixed with
Well, it was
everything,
good.
fish.
Good.
And,
Well, what made really sad is kids would order burgers. That was always the shocking one. They'd get a kid's meal with a burger, and they wouldn't touch the burger, but they'd just eat the fries, and that was it. And parents, I'd throw full burgers down the garbage disposal.
takes a few bites off of it.
So I remember
was Jeremy's lunch.
everybody's had that rush hours or whatever where it's really busy, and all of a sudden we got like 2 buses pulled up, 2
Oh,
high school
buses are the
teams come
worst.
in. We get swamped. I am going as fast as I possibly can to get the dishes turned
Little
around.
15-year-old Jer Bear.
Yeah, I was
Scraggly little arms.
Scraggly little it comes into play. That comes into play. So the garbage got 90% full. And I finally, like, if we had the big red like lever that you pull and then the steam whistle goes off and stops all production, it got to the point where I had to pull that equivalent figurative whistle to stop production so I could change this garbage. So it was like, first thing I do is tie it up. I go to lift it out. It's not going. It's not going anywhere. So I tip the garbage can over on its side and I drag it out. And I was like, whew, I did it. So I get, and I'm like, well, I can't drag it because it's going to rip the bag.
Yeah.
So I grabbed a snow shovel because it was winter, and I put a snow shovel underneath the thing, and then I pulled the snow shovel and drug it out on a snow shovel.
How
Your
heavy
dad would be
you-
proud of you.
How heavy would you estimate that would be?
In all plausibility, 90 to 100 pounds, I'm guessing.
Oh, just like imagine like a bean bag.
Yes.
That's just
Right.
full of water.
Yes, that's exactly what it
Just
felt
sloppy
like.
water.
Yeah, just
So-
like yeah.
So you
that's
know
the worst. I've
restaurant-
experienced very similar things.
Yes, restaurant garbage dumpsters, right, are like 5 feet tall before
Yeah.
you get the garbage
Yeah.
in. So I'm like, okay, I try to lift this thing, and my first lift is like 1.5 inches off the ground. I'm like, okay, I can do this. I can do this. Momentum is my friend. So I get the garbage bag, and I'm like, I get it back and I go swing forward and it's like, it's going. Like I go up a foot at this point. I'm like, I can do this. So I swing it back. 2, I get it to just almost clear the lid. I'm like, I can do this. So I back up. And as I go to get it, right when it clears the ground, the bottom busts open and it sprays 90 pounds of food garbage, just third swing momentum energy transferred, just plastered into the front of the garbage dumpster.
Was there any backsplash?
Oh no, it was because they're angled, they angle at a lip, so it's just it all just funneled into just this Jabba the Hutt pile mess of just food garbage, sludge. And then so I didn't know what to do. I was like, oh, I'm supposed to throw the garbage away. So I got my manager, and my manager came back out and they're like, clean it up. No. I was like, but it was she's like, yeah, that's your job. You take the garbage out and you clean up messes. This is a mess. Clean it up. So said snow shovel
by the seashore.
I sat there for about a half hour and shoveled up that entire bag of garbage into the dumpster.
I feel like I would have puked.
It was pretty gross. It was pretty gross. And so that was just permanently ingrained in my brain. I will never forget that because it was like, I thought the plan through. I executed the plan and unforeseen circumstances.
And the plan executed you.
Yes. And so it was like, but you know what? Hindsight, it's hilarious. It's an awesome story. I won't forget it, But
just terrible in the moment.
Oh, spraying
What's your thing about...
Oh, time plus tragedy equals
comedy. Comedy equals time plus or tragedy plus time.
There you go.
So yeah, that was
not really tragedy, but
that was my first story. But I had some good things too. Like we got to make waffles, oddly enough, as the dishwasher. So if
like the big turny over waffle iron thing.
Yeah. So if you were doing dishes and you were in the middle of doing something, and somebody ordered a waffle, the line cooks would yell out, "Drop a waffle!" So you'd have to go into the cold walk-in fridge and grab the batter or whatever, and then you dump it in and make the waffle. But I mean, the waffle mix smells heavenly. I mean, it is really good.
What a weird
Waffles
responsibility to give to a dishwasher.
Right.
And so the line in the cook was here, right? And the waffle maker was literally on the other side of the wall.
Yeah, I like a liter of cola.
And we were picking on one of my coworkers was showing me a video about my friend is doing drywall and he's mudding and taping, and he showed me this awesome contractor YouTuber that he found, and the guy's from Canada. And he always goes, oh, and so if you follow this process, and so it's just, so anyways, it drives him nuts that this guy says process, And, but anyway, so yeah, on the other side of the wall, or however I said it, so they just didn't have access to it. So it was like they just had the dishwasher. That's the side we were on. So yeah, we would quit what we were doing and go make a waffle.
How often do they get sprayed by the hose?
Oh no, that was out of reach.
Okay,
the waffles
I
were
feel
safe.
like that's not super sanitary.
Yeah,
though.
I don't want the dishwasher area to be where my waffles are. I'm not ordering waffles,
right?
Well, I mean that's why they went bankrupt.
Yeah,
right.
Waffle, yeah, the big waffle scandal. Wafflegate. So yeah, that was one of the fun things. But sometimes you'd see every crazy food place has funny stories. So sometimes the chefs would make, when it was closed or slow, when it was overnights, they'd make a 20 egg omelet or just do stuff for the sake of doing it, having a good time.
We made the 1 second hamburger at McDonald's.
What? What's that?
That's trying to assemble a sandwich as fast as you could. And
in 1 second?
Yeah, so basically we had everything set out already. So it's from the moment the bun came out of the bun toaster to it being wrapped was 1.2 seconds or something.
It's like a NASCAR pit crew or whatever.
No, that's exactly what it is. We had one person because the assembly line you could run as a single person, but
right.
At full capacity there is a person that just feeds the bun toaster, someone who does ketchup and mustard, somebody who does the intermediary toppings, a person who does cheese, and then the person who does the meat or chicken and then wraps it.
Dang.
So we had the full lineup. And we're like, let's see how fast we can make a hamburger. So hamburger, it's ketchup, mustard, then blah, and then it skips past the cheese guy and right to the guy going, and he's like, it was so fast. I could not believe how quick we did it.
That's
was cool.
Awesome.
Impressive.
What I was going to say when you were telling your McDonald's, or just telling us about McDonald's, was you had taught me some cool combinations that you used to do. So it's you could ask for a Big Mac, but with quarter meat. That was always amazing. That was my jam for the longest time.
Yep.
That was such a good sandwich. It's so much better than a regular Big Mac.
With what?
So how much does a Big Mac patty weigh?
What is it? It's like 3.2 ounces or something.
So you'd ask for a Big Mac, but get the meat on a quarter pounder on a Big Mac, so that your Big Mac goes from normal to like just a really good burger.
It's 1/10 of a pound, whatever that is.
Okay, got it.
1.6 ounces. Sorry.
Okay, so
So
and then-
but two of them is 3.2.
got it.
Gotcha.
That's awesome. Anyway, so then, so you what was another? McChicken.
And Swiss cheese.
Oh no, yeah, McChicken and Swiss.
Yeah.
You do the McChicken and Swiss. Didn't you also get a McChicken and a McDouble together or something like that?
So one that I really like to do is I would do Big Mac, 1/4 pound patty, one McChicken piece.
Interesting.
So it's like sort of like a weird version of that combination.
But I always thought that was the coolest thing. I felt like awesome when I would go to the drive-thru. I'm like, can I get a Big Mac with quarter meat, please?
And they'd be like, sure.
Sure.
And like they have buttons on the registers for doing all this
Yeah,
stuff.
for
too.
doing
so
this
it's
stuff.
not like
Sure.
it's impossible for them to figure out how to charge you for it.
Right.
Interesting.
All right, Kara, spill the beans. First job.
Well, okay. Technically, I don't know if you want to consider
W4.
it was seasonal. At 15, I did work at the tree farm first.
Oh, that's right. You did trees for your first job.
I made wreaths.
Made wreaths.
Many much wreaths. And
Like for
bevel.
like a saxophone.
No.
Wreaths.
Wreaths.
Like Christmas
W-R-
Reeds. I
Yeah.
was saying reeds.
Yeah.
Like the,
no, reeds.
the-
Kara's grinding down. She's got a
the
deli
lathe.
slicer, or whatever. Taking the stick and cutting it. Cutting the wedge. So,
Reeds
No.
sounds a
So-
lot more pain in the butt than making reeds.
Wreaths.
I had no idea
Or
that
if
they have
you
like
were-
a solid metal frame that all
Yeah.
the pine boughs are attached to.
So that was my first seasonal job. I'll talk about my first full-time job. But so the seasonal job, I made wreaths. My boss, or there's two boss. There's the wreath kind of boss, and then there's the tree area boss. The tree boss, he for the first probably year called me Tara,
No.
and I
Hold
you
on,
know,
your name's not Tara?
all right. And he would just call me Tara. I was like, okay, whatever. Being the northern Minnesota girl I am, I was like, whatever. It doesn't matter.
I
Fine.
guess my name's Tara.
Yep.
I'm Tara
Finally,
now.
his wife was like, it's Kara.
That's so funny.
She finally corrected him. But I was their best wreath maker. Bev will even tell you that.
Is your name on like the wall?
No.
Do you have
It should
The
be.
Hall of Fame.
the Hall of Wreath Fame?
Right? It should be.
They put a wreath around your picture. What do they do, like ivy or whatever? Like ivy wrap. But okay, so then what was your first full time
my first
job?
full-time job was at Wendy's. I interviewed for that job before the building was even done.
I remember how big of a deal. I remember hearing about Wendy's
Yeah.
when it was coming to town.
So when I applied, the building was still partially done. It it was not pretty, and there was a mailbox at the end of the driveway that had the applications in it. So I grabbed one of those, and when I went in to do my interview, it was actually in the contractor's trailer.
Oh,
That's how unfinished the building was.
I have when I worked at Applebee's, it was the same thing. They were
Yeah.
remodeling the thing, so we were in a contractor's trailer.
It's
doing
it's so
interviews.
tight and just compact. And
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah. I remember during my interview, I didn't really even talk about any experience I had because I was little 16-year-old, whatever.
What experience do you have? I like hair.
We talked about my dad's duster.
oh, there you go. Cars. That's
Yeah.
always a
Oh,
good thing.
I thought he wore just like a cool trench coat.
Vehicle duster.
Oh, okay.
Like in 1974, I think it was. Anyway,
Yeah.
so I worked there for 11
Talking about my dad's feather duster. It just dawned on me. Oh, he uses it to remove dust.
No, you were talking about the duster.
I was talking about the coat like a cowboy.
Oh.
It was like
Yeah.
a duster.
I thought a feather duster.
we're all on different.
Dusters.
Did they know explicitly you were talking about a car?
Yes, he knew exactly. He knew.
Oh, you know those funny things where people are talking about one thing, but they work out for another thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would have been funny. It's like, oh,
we talked about my dad's duster.
he really cleans up the competition.
Lordy.
Was this with Paul then? Or?
Yeah, it was, yeah.
with Paul. And funny thing, my first hygiene job was just down the road from where Paul lives.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Small world.
So yeah, I worked there 11 years.
That is a long
goodness.
time for that type of job.
Yeah. I mean, I think I was 27 when I quit. You don't want to be working fast food in late in your 20s. That's just, don't do it.
I mean, you were a manager. You'd worked
I
your way.
was a manager, but so when I quit, some of the people there were talking about like wanting raises basically to where I was getting paid. And I'm like, I'm a manager. I've been here 11 years. You guys have been here like 5 years. No.
Right.
But when I started, yeah, minimum wage is $5.15.
Yep.
So.
Because it was 04 that you started?
04.
Yeah.
Yep. So when I went to train, again, the building wasn't finished. So I was supposed to go out to the London Road Wendy's to train. I didn't know there was a London Road Wendy's. So I went to the Miller Hill Mall Wendy's.
I thought you were going to say you went to London. The London Wendy's.
Right?
Paul. Yeah.
Chip and a Cheerio.
I can't. I was like, well, yes, to do an English accent for I'd like a baconator, please, or whatever, British accent for that.
That was an accent anyway. Good job.
Yeah.
Right, there you go. So I showed up to the Miller Hill Mall Wendy's, and I was like, I'm here for my training, and they were like, we didn't hire you. And so poor little me, I'm like, what? So they finally were like, well, you should go to the London Road one because they're probably the ones who hired you. So, but that was kind of devastating for little 16-year-old me. I was trained on sandwiches first, and I was there. I worked the second day we were open.
Wow.
It was
Packed.
Insane. Yeah.
I remember that was a big deal. Coming from a small town, having a Wendy's show up was a big deal.
Yeah.
We're in a big city now.
Yeah. Everybody came from anywhere to come to Wendy's. That's why I have a lot of funny stories at Wendy's. Like the one where David smashed into the back of my car and.
Did I tell you about the lady who rear-ended me at Wendy's?
No.
So she was doing something. She had this enormous like F950 or something like that.
A Megatron.
It's got 20 sets of tires on the back. That
Megatron or whatever,
right.
or Optimus Prime.
So like this lady who's like about 5,000 years old, driving this truck that like she has 40 phone books stacked up so she can see.
It's like
right?
in Secret Life of Pets.
Yeah.
The little lady with the cat's driving
like
it.
literally the oldest, most person who like when you think of this giant obnoxious truck, you don't think little old lady.
Right.
And it's like I don't know if she like borrowed it from somebody or stole it. I don't know this lady's life, but she has this truck. And she decides
it's her grandson's truck.
And she decided she's going through Wendy's in this freaking thing. And I'm in my car, the same car I've had for the last 5-6 years. And I was like sitting there waiting. All of a sudden, right in like I was in park because I was waiting.
Right.
So and you know how you get a little bit of roll and then you just like stop.
Yep.
So it's like I lurch forward and then it's like stop and I'm like whoop, into my steering wheel.
Oh man.
Wait, this was like within the last 5 years, you said?
This was like 2 years ago only.
What?
Yeah. Like, she didn't hit me hard enough. Like it scratched the crap out of my bumper, but it didn't break it.
Right.
So I look back, and all I see in my rearview mirror is just like ram or something.
Right.
That's just 100% filled with the grill of this vehicle. I had enough room to like open my door, and I look back. And I just see like knuckles on the steering wheel. So I walk back to the thing and it's like, excuse me, you just smashed into the back of my car.
I didn't see you there, Sonny.
And she's like, oh, sorry. And she like backs up or whatever. And I was like, should you be driving this? She's like,
Right.
and I was like, and I looked at my car and there's nothing wrong with my car. There's nothing wrong with hers. So it's
Right.
like, there's no reason to like do
No reason to
anything
get the
about it.
authorities involed.
But it's like, seriously, it's like,
All I can envision is these little old granny knuckles just...
no, that's all I could see from where I was standing was hands.
She hands you her insurance card. It's from like 1952.
Yeah.
Right? Do you want to see my driver's license?
It was just like I couldn't believe I went from like insanely mad to trying to figure out how this combination of things. So imagine in the entirety of space time, so many things had to happen so that this old lady had this massive absurd truck ram into the back of me at a Wendy's in Cloquet.
Well, it's like light travels for how many how long of a distance just to get absorbed by your eye and be done. Whatever.
Well, technically, it doesn't even get absorbed by your eye; it gets reflected out, but
right.
the signal of it gets
Just hits your eye, and then you're whatever. But I mean, it's like crazy to think about. And so all your existence comes to this one point as lady ramming you with her.
Yeah, it's like how does this even happen? It was a solid hit, and I'm surprised that it didn't break anything.
Right.
But if you look at my back bumper, it's all scratched up and everything, and it's mostly from that.
So did she just didn't see you?
No, yeah, she couldn't. There's no way she could see anything that was closer than 20 feet away from her.
So like how you're
because of
supposed
the angle,
to,
because like
yeah.
you've been in a big truck where the hood goes out forever, and
Right.
then if your objective angle is so low
True. I guess-
that like you have a big blind spot in front of your car.
I've never had that problem, so I get
So yeah, it was just one of those things where it's like all the math worked out that like she just comes blazing around the corner like, I'm getting me some hot nuggets.
She was excited to get those.
She's been alive 9,000 years and has never had a hot nugget.
Right? I'm gonna try this new spicy nugget. Or she ate a spicy nugget and she just and hits the gas and
Okay.
takes off.
So spicy. There's kind of a same subject, change subject. So it's spicy. We had a spicy jalapeno sandwich when I was working, and we sold tons of them, whatever. And so during the middle of the day, I get a call at Wendy's. And I answered, I'm like, hello, Wendy's. And this person was like, yeah. So I was just there, and I had your spicy jalapeno sandwich, and it gave me butt burns. Straight up, it gave me butt burns. We'd like a different one. I was
What?
like,
It's already gone through. You've eaten it and processed
that's
it.
just it. It's like, you want another one, but you just said it gave you the butt burns.
Yeah.
What makes you think a second one's going to be any better?
Yeah, or maybe that's just an experience that they liked and like, I would
Right,
like
I
one
know.
butt burn sandwich for free, please.
So yeah, that blew me away.
That
I
is
couldn't, like,
people.
why?
Yeah, it's like, I had a terrible experience, but I'll give you another chance
Right.
if it's free.
Yeah, it's free.
The jalapenos aren't going to burn coming out this time.
That's
Yeah, it's
really
like,
funny.
anybody who is upset after they eat something spicy, knowing that it's spicy going into it,
Right.
it's just
like,
ridiculous.
It has jalapenos on it. It's gonna be
Which is
spicy.
honestly not like the worst spice ever either.
No, but I mean, for people like me, jalapenos are spicy.
So, but you wouldn't complain if you're like, I'll have the
No.
jalapeno nachos,
Right,
and
see,
then you're
that's
like,
just it.
oh,
Oh, it's so hot.
Exactly.
So, okay, would you have a standout story? So you got spicy.
oh yeah, sorry, I hijacked your Wendy's experience to tell my car crash story.
Your guys' stories are hilarious.
So you've been there for
So-
11 years. You got to have a hilarious one.
So every Tuesday, and this is kind of gross, but it's super funny at the same time. So every Tuesday, this same family would come into Wendy's. Every Tuesday.
Okay.
Describe in gratuitous detail this family, please.
Okay, wait.
We
We
have,
should tell.
we have our police sketch artist on standby to make a rendition of said family.
I think one of the people is a teacher. Anyway, they would come into Wendy's. They would stay there for like 3 or 4 hours.
What?
Yeah, they would order
Every
their food.
Tuesday?
Every Tuesday.
Wow.
Yep. They would just sit there. I remember his name. I don't remember anybody else's name. But anyway, so they brought in their grandpa with them every time. This old guy.
Okay. Community
And
service.
we began to realize that when this family would come in, the toilet, the men's bathroom, would always have just a spray of poop
no.
all over
No.
the back wall every single Tuesday. And we were like, what is going on? And we finally
Toxic
realized,
Tuesdays.
seriously, we finally realized that the grandpa would go in there every Tuesday. And when
So
he
there's
was
a
done,
plot here.
and
They
when
didn't want to clean it up. He probably had one bowel movement a
Probably.
week. And so they brought Grandpa out to Wendy's, and they did not leave until he's like, "Oh, I got to use the bathroom." He does his business.
That's their evil plan for the week.
They
They're like, we
put
like
you-
Baconators, and we don't like cleaning up after Grandpa.
Right, so yeah, there'd just be this spray of poop, like and not any little spray of poop. It was like all over the back of the like the back wall of the toilet. Just so when we would clean floors, we used to have a watering can, and we would water the floor. You know, you get to spread the water around, scrub it and everything. So what they would do is they'd fill that up with the floor cleaner. Rinse off the back,
Oh, yeah,
and then take
I'd
the
hit that
scrub.
with a mop. Absolutely.
They took the scrub brush, scrub that down, and then squeegeed it off.
Yeah, you should have called Perkins and borrowed their steam sprayer.
Right.
Just steam
They
clean the
tried
wall.
to get me to go clean it one time, and I looked at them. I was like, "Nope, men's bathroom. You're doing it."
Yeah.
So
Oh yeah. There you go.
We were talking about something similar to this, and like that's technically you need to have like a biological.
I think I told you this story. Yeah,
yeah. It's like you're not obligated to do it unless you actually have like a certification.
Oh,
for dealing
training to
with
clean up.
bio-waste.
Yeah,
Which
bio
I
waste.
did not.
Interesting.
None of us did. So, I mean, it's like, what do you do?
But, so that, like I had not over many years worth of time, but it was probably like the third day that I worked there. because I was the FNG.
Right.
A very similar thing happened in our bathroom. They sent me to go and clean it. I had never even cleaned I'd never cleaned a bathroom in my house before.
Right.
And they're like, go clean this up. And I was like, this is something that I'm not prepared to do with my life.
Get me the hazmat suit.
So, yeah, it was just, oh, man. I'm not jealous of that happening.
No.
Since we went there, I had a very similar story at Perkins as well. Mine might be a little worse, but it did teach me the value of a good manager. And so a customer had diarrhea, but they didn't realize it until they were in the booth when it started.
Okay. Oh, no.
And so there was a trail.
So when you said booth, at first I thought it was like, oh, like the cubicle in the bathroom. And then I realized you're at a restaurant that has booths.
Oh.
You have carpeting there, don't you?
They did.
Oh.
And so
What?
the manager came back and got me, and there was just a trail from the booth to the bathroom.
Was it on the smoking or non-smoking side?
It was on the non-smoking
Okay,
side.
so at least it's not the longest possible trail.
No, it wasn't the longest possible trail, but you know that divider? It was in those rows of booths.
Oh,
there.
so it's still a pretty decent haul.
Yeah, oh yeah. So it was from there all the way to the bathroom, and it was the same thing. Like, it's carpet, and it's wet.
I'm sure that stank to high
Oh,
heaven.
it did. And so the manager came and got me.
To sit there, eat your pancakes, and all of a sudden you get this.
Was there a radius of free meals around this?
There was, absolutely there was.
exactly-
And they moved people that were in the proximity to the smoking
Was
side.
this an older person or a young? Like,
I mean, it's not applicable to the story. Someone had a bad luck experience.
okay.
And that happened. But
Yeah.
my manager came and got me, and they said, come here, we need you to clean this. So they showed me, and I looked, and I'm like, you're kidding, right? And they said, no. But then they said, I'm going to help you. So we cleaned it together.
Was this HB?
Tony.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Tommy.
Tommy's super nice.
It was Tommy.
I really like her.
HB worked there when you worked there, right?
HB absolutely worked there.
Okay.
HB was awesome, but it was Tommy working that
Okay.
night. So it was me and Tommy.
She's super nice, isn't she?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, she's the one who's been there like 1,000 years,
Yes.
right?
Yeah,
she's
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, she's
Yeah.
awesome. So her and I cleaned it. So we started with a mop, and we mopped up what we could. And then we got, like, scrubbies. Like, not sponge scrubbies, but plastic bristled
Yeah.
So you had to
what
like
you
get
use
down
for,
your
like,
hands
dishes
and knees and
stuff.
scrub
and,
that.
like, get it out of the carpet.
Oh, I would have vomited. I can't even clean up after Oliver without getting a little.
I wasn't going to tell the story because there's
So-
poop involved. but-
This is the instant demonetization of our entire channel. I'm gonna have to put up a warning in front of this. It's like for the
Seriously?
next 10 minutes. Do not listen to us.
Okay, well, let's
Hey, well,
continue
art
with the-
imitates life,
yeah,
right?
Dear audio listeners, we apologize sincerely from the bottom of our hearts for having put you through those horrible
Sorry.
stories.
So, okay, just
Oh, no.
bear with me.
Oh no, it's still going.
We went from
This was-
first
okay,
to
okay.
poop.
This isn't as bad. It's actually funny.
Oh
So
no.
I had another complaint. I almost said patient complaint. Another customer complaint. So we used to have the taco salads with salsa, right?
Yes.
So I had a customer come up and tell me, and she was like, I just got sick off your taco salad. I threw up in the bathroom. And I was like, okay, you're not going to get sick off of our taco salad that fast. Like,
Yeah, instantaneously. There's a
right.
little bit of time that it takes.
Right. It takes about 24 hours typically for food poison to kick in. Anyway, I went to the bathroom. It looked like she had peeled open the salsa cup and poured it around the toilet seat. I was like, you gotta be kidding.
Couldn't even do the decency of pouring it in the toilet.
Seriously. And one more.
Okay.
So-
can I go put a story in between these two
Yes, go
stories?
ahead.
So speaking of scamming people, so I
Oh,
worked.
so many scams.
So you worked at Wendy's for 11 years, which is longer than I've worked anywhere. But the closest one I've got, I worked at a gas station, which Jeremy worked at.
I did.
for a short
For
period of
quite,
time.
yeah, a couple years, year or two.
But I worked there for 8 years. So and I worked midnight, so I got to experience the widest breadth of types of people that exist.
Amen.
And there's the first time I was ever named in a lawsuit. Somebody had come in, and upon looking back at the tapes, well, I'll give you some context at the end, but I'll just give you the play-by-play as I experienced it. It's busy. It's right around midnight time, so it's like people are still going out for the evening and stuff. It's a weekend. And somebody drops a glass bottle of like tea or something, like one of the glass bottle beverages.
Yep.
I'm like, ugh, super, because you're there by yourself.
Right.
Now you have a wet floor and broken glass scenario.
Yes.
So I do what I know I'm supposed to do. I get the mop bucket and I block one end of the aisle. I get the wet floor sign and some other stuff block the other end, so nobody can intentionally get in to that aisle because there's broken glass and liquid and stuff everywhere. And then as I get opportunity, I'm like sweeping up the glass and get the glass out of there. So now it's just wet. It needs to be mopped. So then finally, in between all these people, I get it all mopped up, but I do like a really heavy wet mopping thing to get all like the sticky, sugary bits off the ground.
Yeah.
As soon as I get done doing that, I still have it all blocked off. Somebody comes in, and I'm standing in the aisle. Somebody comes in, and he's like, "Oh my!" He has like his daughter with him or something, like traveling or whatever. And she just wanted like this particular candy bar. That's the whole reason they stopped, is to get whatever. And I'm standing right next to it, so it's like, I'll just grab it for you, and then we'll ring you up. So I'm reaching to grab it, and then I hear the sound of like shoes squeaking on the ground coming from the other side. So like if I'm on one end of the aisle looking at this guy is like the way that I'm not looking on the far end. And so I turn and I look and I see what looks like a dude that is like squeaking his shoes, like trying to make the noise, and then just sort of like flops down and sits. And I was like, and I look at him and he looks at me. And like we just like look at each other for a second, and then he's like, "Oh, my back!" And I was like, "No!" Immediately, and then the dude next to me, like, looks at the dude and is just like, and I'm like, I was like, "I'll be right with you." Then I'm like trying to like, you can't admit faults or anything. One of the first things they teach you in any of these places is like, all you can do is offer to like call an ambulance and ask if they're okay.
Well, here's the thing: you put out the wet floor signs too, so
he had to walk around the thing to do. So. The particular aisle configuration as this was set up, and Jeremy will remember this. So there's the two ends of the aisle, but they're one of the two sides of the aisle was broken into two sections, so you could cut into the middle of it if you wanted to, which was also blocked off. But he had to walk around the thing, and that's like he got around it, and then started making the things, and then like did the "oh no, I slipped" thing. And when you watch back the footage, not only do you see him faking that, but you also see earlier he was in with somebody else that dropped the thing.
No.
So he set up the whole scenario.
Oh my!
To try and do the thing. So like he tried suing the store for injuries and stuff. So like we had called the ambulance. He got taken away. All this stuff. And then so he named the store as somebody in this lawsuit to try and get money, and they named me for a supposed negligence. And for months, I'm getting phone calls from the company lawyer and insurance adjusters and all these people who, for weeks, didn't even look at the security footage. Like, if you look at the footage, there's absolutely, this guy has zero freaking case, right? And after that amount of time, it's like details get hard to remember.
Right.
So and they keep on asking the same questions. Like, look, I'm just going to defer to the statement and my written statement and what I said.
That's your smart choice.
Absolutely.
It's like I'm not going to. I was like, I can't give you any more detail than I would have been able to give you on the first time.
Right. Well, yeah, and as time goes on, like you said, things are going to become fuzzy. So if they catch you saying something even slightly different, they'll be like, "Oh,
yeah, no,
were you
exactly.
lying?"
No, that's the exact thing. And I knew like. I was like, I'm not going to give this guy any opportunity to try and screw us over.
Right.
Why didn't they look at the footage?
Well,
like,
no.
It was the thing,
Here's
like,
the
internally, like, so, like,
the prosecutors don't get to look at the footage until, or like the plaintiff's lawyers probably,
until it gets brought into, until you get to the part where you can actually start bringing evidence in, nobody can see any of this stuff. They just get the written statements of what people said.
Okay.
And then, so what's fun though, on the flip side of that, is all of these stories are happening about how the guy came in to get a candy for his daughter, and then there was broken glass and water, and he slipped. And then the defense gets to be like, boom, lays down the video, which completely contradicts everything that happened.
Yeah.
So that's what's kind of fun. It's you keep it in your back pocket for, a rainy day. So the whole thing was orchestrated.
Yeah, from the very beginning. But it was just something that from the second it happened, I knew that like this is going to be a pain in my butt for the next forever.
I can't. Oh, it's so frustrating.
And I worked midnights too, so I'd be getting calls at like 9:30 in the morning when people are in their normal business hours.
Yeah.
It'd be tantamount to calling somebody at 2:30 in the morning that works a normal shift. And it's like, so I'd miss a lot of these calls, and they'd get angry, and I'd try and call them back, and it's just like all this back and forth. And it was a nightmare, and I was getting accused of like trying to dodge a thing. It's like, I work freaking midnights, dudes.
Yeah. Right.
And that was. So I worked there for about a year and a half. I worked weekend midnights, and then I switched over to full time. And this is when I was transitioning from being the weekend guy to working full time midnights. So it was like one of the last regular weekends I was going to be working, and before I switched over. And I was like, they're going to fire me now,
Right? That's
for this.
crazy.
And yeah, it was just so that and the long story of somebody also trying to scam us and how big of, and it happened, there's a dude that claimed he slipped outside on ice when there was no ice, and then we had evidence of that, and it's the exact same thing. It was just like months of dealing with phone calls with lawyers and people investigating it, and like by that time it's like I had everybody there write down their statements and put their names and phone numbers and stuff like that, so we had all this corroborating evidence to the story of what actually happened.
Right.
And like, and the dude was wearing moccasins, which no traction whatsoever, in the middle of February.
Right.
So, and sorry, I'm telling more stories of the thing, but so
No,
back to
that's-
your scam story.
So it wasn't a scam story. It was
you
a
had to-
story I was going to tell.
So the one lady poured down salsa for a free salad. Your
Oh, yeah,
person
that's
pre-orchestrates,
okay.
bottle throwing and slipping, and I just hate the fact that it wasted the emergency ambulance's time, the
Right.
police's time, lawyers and courts, and a judge who does a lot of work to get to where they're at has to sit and then
Listen to that garbage.
listen to
Yeah.
that.
So
Yeah.
fortunately, by the time once it got to the judge, that's when it got thrown out, because that's when he can do a preponderance of the evidence and be like, "There's no grounds to move forward with a civil trial at this time." Have a nice day.
Drops the mic,
Crazy.
drops the gavel.
Yeah.
Right.
So you did have another funny Wendy story?
Sorry.
Well, okay, so I was going to tell one story, but talking about that made me think about one time we had a guy used to work at Wendy's, and he came in just plastered, absolutely wasted, drunk, and he came in and he was talking to my friend and I, and he kept on saying, "Oh, don't call the cops. I'm totally fine. Don't call the cops." And so he's going, like, he hung out inside with us for probably a good 20 minutes, and then he started to walk outside, slipped off the curb, like our little 3-inch curb,
Yeah.
And
The ones that have always been there.
Yep.
right, exactly. He's just slipping around and everything, and my friend and I were like, we're so close to Highway 33. We're like, we don't want him walking out there and getting hit by a car. So we call the cops to come and pick him up. We're like, honestly, it's not an emergency. We just don't want this guy getting killed, because he's super drunk. So the cops come and they try to take him away nicely. And of course, like I said, he is toasted. And so it gets to the point where they have to grab him, throw him to the ground, handcuff him, and whip him into the back of the
This is for your own safety.
Yeah. Stop resisting.
So the poor, like the guy, I mean, totally toast. I'm sure he spent like the night in the detox or whatever, but he was absolutely wasted.
Just one of the most, it's one of the most just funny stories or whatever, silly funny stories that stuck in my mind is when I worked at the gas station. It was the same thing. One of the things that annoyed me were drive-offs. People driving away with gas.
Well, don't you get their license number?
Well, so here's how this works. Here's how this works.
We're about
Chris,
to be told.
Chris can attest to this.
Oh my goodness.
9 times out of 10, or maybe 75% of the time, I don't know, you're working and then you look and there's gas that's not paid for, and that's the end of it. It's like something happened and it's just, they were sneaky, they pulled up, they got gas and they took off.
How can you live with yourself? Like,
And so,
Yeah,
so
well, I'll say this. Of the 100% of drive-offs, I'd say it's a 50-50 split between intentional and oops.
that's the other thing. So
But the way that they happen, you can't be expected. I know some people that worked there that would write down every single license plate number and everything. You can't do anything except for watch the pumps and run the register. Then.
Right.
And you're expected to do other duties while you're there.
Yes,
so it's
as
like,
in,
I'll
you know.
let a tank of gas run away so I don't get yelled at literally every day
Right.
for not getting my stuff done.
Right.
That
And
was the choice I made.
and they
Right.
have an acceptable number of, not necessarily daily, but they'll have, like, they're willing to put up with a couple drive offs a week or whatever to just because it's the cost of doing business.
what is the markup for, like,
It's not much. For fuel, it's not much.
It's anywhere from a loss to maybe a few cents a gallon profit. It's a
Okay,
loss
so
leader to get you in the
basically-
door to buy a Snickers bar.
I was
Yeah.
going to say, so basically their profit comes from
Convenience
like, okay.
of all of
Food
the
Yeah, you,
and
stuff.
you
coffee,
buying an
food.
$8 bottle of Advil, it makes up for the losing 50 gallons of gas.
So how many people would you say actually come in to purchase
It was more a long time ago. I think more pay at the pump is
Right.
becoming more and more common now. But
Yeah, man, I'd say 20% of our customers didn't even buy gas. They just come in for stuff.
yeah,
right.
that's true
Okay.
too. People
Okay.
don't come in for
Well,
the
I mean,
pumps at all.
yeah, we just stopped at Holiday.
Yeah,
on
and
the
just
way
yeah,
here
and just you know
got
to
a couple drinks.
get the drinks and stuff. But anyway, okay, so drive offs. So here was what was annoying.
Sorry.
So first off, if you do catch a drive off and you do put their license plate number with it, and you do contact the police, sometimes the police have more important things, so they don't take
Right.
it. They don't prioritize it all that much.
Mm-hmm.
But really, all they can do is if they do catch them, they can't prosecute them because they can't prove guilty or innocence with all the information they've been given. They can just ask them, "Sir, did you realize you didn't pay for your gas?" And then the people,
oh, I didn't.
"Oh, I didn't," and then they
goodness
head
me.
back
Yep.
and they pay for the gas. That's as far as it got.
Or they'll
But-
say they're going to head back and pay for it and just leave.
Yeah, exactly. So one of the most annoying stories is I had that feeling, that premonition that somebody was going to drive off. Pump 8, facing the road, like they pulled up in a way so that they,
Yep.
they're going to be ready to take off. And so
I like to use the pump number. So you and I know exactly the
know-
geography.
yeah,
It's the
that's
farthest
true.
pump away from you.
Well, see, I just know the details are vivid. It's the one furthest away from the glass. Yeah, we used to have binoculars.
Yep.
And you could look through the binoculars to get the pump number, to get the license plate number.
Jeremy's just like,
Well,
Yeah.
no. So it was.
They were the jankiest binoculars in the universe.
the little toy ones you get in like a Happy Meal box or
Not
something.
much better than those, to be honest.
So I just was so frustrated because this guy's at Pump 8, and I'm like, it was a slow night, so I had plenty of time to watch him. And so I was just watching him, and he looks at me, he looks at his car, he doesn't break eye contact with me, he keeps pumping, he puts the gas away, all while looking at me, gets in his car and just takes off. And I'm like, you jerk, you jerk.
gosh.
And it was like, I couldn't get his plate from
Yeah,
how far he was, and the way
Well,
that
that's at a weird angle too. Like, so it's not like the pumps are in line with the window. They come at each other at an angle. So if you're on the one end,
Yeah.
on pump 1 and 2 end, those were prepay only because you couldn't see them.
you literally couldn't see him,
And
from the
then-
glass.
On the other far
Oh.
side, the pump 8 one, there's no way you would ever be able to see a license plate if they're pulled up the right way.
Right.
Interesting.
And so it was just so frustrating to me. And I remember it just sticking in my mind because it's like we made eye contact. We had a moment. And it's like, this is going down. He's not paying for this. He never had intention to pay for
It's
the
like the
gas.
Floyd story, not breaking eye contact.
Yeah,
with
no,
the-
that's what it was. We locked eyes, and it was like I felt completely and utterly helpless. There was absolutely nothing I could do.
I
That
walked
guy
out
got
the
a
door,
free
been
tank of
like,
gas.
hey, how's it going tonight?
But it's like you can't leave the store unattended,
Yeah,
and you
true.
can't get
Yep.
you can't, and if you go out and you're alone, they could kidnap you. You don't know what happens. There's a whole bunch of liabilities. And it was
Yeah.
Yeah, they'd rather lose a tank of gas than a person.
right.
True that.
And so that was just it's
We
a gas
had people,
station
I'm
story.
sure at McDonald's too, we'd have people drive off without paying for their food. Like there'd be a miscommunication between the first and second window. First window wouldn't get it, so they drive forward and then leave without their food. And then the next person would be like, oh, your total is $25.69.
What?
I got a double
I got a frosty.
you know?
Yeah.
It's the lady in her massive pickup truck.
Right? I just want my hot nuggets for 99 cents.
Okay, so I just want to say right now, Wendy's Nuggets, best fast food.
Oh, they're so good. And I like
And
their
they're the
spicy,
best
yeah.
value, too.
Yeah, they are ridiculous.
Have you ever found feathers
Feathers, no.
in your nuggets?
Is this a thing?
So we
I'm retracting my previous statement. Burger King Nuggets.
So there were a couple times when I worked there. We would sneak nuggets once in a while. I'm sure you guys at McDonald's.
Well, I fried
Oh.
donuts,
Fries
and we
and
got free
nuggets,
donuts when
whatever,
we worked
you
at the
know.
bakery.
Quick side story. My favorite. So we had what were called courtesy breaks, and that's what you could take like a minute, step away from the line, get something to drink or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
So as a joke, some of the people would say it was like, "Oh, we're gonna have a nugget courtesy or whatever." And you grab a nugget or whatever. But my favorite version of that was I grab a piece of bacon and a nugget and a pice of cheese and wrap it
Yes.
up.
Oh, so good. We used to do that too.
I mean, I never took food when I worked at
yeah,
places.
no, right? What?
Well, so
But no, like we would steal the nuggets and every
oh, now you steal the
Wow.
nuggets. I mean, you would be
Yeah,
gifted.
we'd have a courtesy nugget.
We'd have a courtesy
Every
nugget.
once in a while, we'd have a courtesy nugget. But I think twice in the 11 years I worked there, one of my coworkers pulled a feather out of a nugget.
I've
It's
real
a numbers
chicken
at
at
that
that
point.
point.
I've heard stories like Buffalo Wild Wings in particular. I love Buffalo Wild
Oh,
Wings.
B-dubs is
I will
amazing.
not say that this has stopped me from going there, but I've heard stories and seen pictures of some pretty messed up Buffalo Wild Wings.
Oh,
Wild
I'm
Wings.
sure.
So I understand it's a mass process. Every now and then, sometimes the safety features don't kick in. It's not like it's going to kill you as long as you see it before you go. Bleh.
Jared looks
Right.
grossed out over there. He's like, World of Wings.
Do we want to end
But
on?
meetups?
I
know that.
I think it's about time for us to wrap this up.
Oh, is it really? Oh my God.
We've been going for 53 minutes.
Do we want to end on one really gross story? And we're gonna do a hard cut. Like Carol will do her tagline, and then that's it. So
You're going to tell the story. She's going to say, "May the force be with you," and then we're
Oh,
just going
my
to cut to
land.
black.
yep, that's it. All right. I was once eating a bag of cheese out of a shredded cheese bag, and I got a fingernail.
May the force be with you.